you not prepared?
Because he doesn't prepare. That's exactly right. You remember how many times I said when he was president, he doesn't do his homework. I mean, he doesn't know the basics about the American government, the American Constitution. And no one can correct him because his skin is so thin that if you're going to do a mock debate, you need someone in the room to challenge you so that you're better prepared. He made the Mike Bloomberg mistake of, well, I have a bunch of sycophants around me and a bunch of yes men who say, oh, I'm great, I'm great. Well, you never got challenged, so you weren't ready for Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris was the old prosecutor here. And in the beginning, she started with body blow, but by the end, she had done about a dozen uppercuts. He just got annihilated.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, as we were talking about in the lead up to this debate, what was the thing that I kept repeating over and over again in regard to your opponent? Never underestimate your opponent. And I genuinely think Donald Trump underestimated Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris did not underestimate Donald Trump.
We finally got the debate that everybody's been waiting for between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. As everyone probably expected, there were all kinds of conspiracy theories and lies from Donald Trump. In this video, we're going to share one of the craziest lies that Donald Trump has told, and that's saying a lot considering the thousands and thousands of lies that he's told over the years. Ana Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, and John Iadarola of the Young Turks broke all this down. We're going to take a look at clips from the debate. We'll also see the Young Turks analysis of this, and I'll share my thoughts from time to time. Let's get into it.
Have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here, you bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
Nah. If you don't follow politics closely, you're not going to vote for this guy. This guy's totally unhinged. He's talking about, by the way, he got it mixed up. They were pretending that they ate cats, and he made it into dogs. Nobody's even claiming dogs. So she got under his skin by saying his people are walking out of his rallies and they're bored. And look at how it triggered him into this total nonsense. He spiraled and spiraled. By the middle of the debate, he was wishing that he was debating Biden and said, "Where's Biden?" He said, "Well, brother, he isn't in the race anymore." She tried to frame herself as a candidate of change, and he's the same old, mission accomplished. She did exactly that. Anna, what do you think?
He definitely lost his nerve, and she did manage to keep her cool while taking effective jabs at him. And look, the debate in the end of the day, and this is what drives me crazy about debates, it's never really about substance, it's really about the optics. And when you look at the optics of this debate, you have Kamala Harris smiling the entire time, constantly looking at him, Donald Trump refusing to look at her with a scowl on his face, and he gets increasingly triggered by her, and that's not gonna look good. And I agree, I mean, the answer, we've had this conversation on the show, Cenk, multiple times, and it's incredibly frustrating because when the Republican Party lies about migrants eating people's pets, that leads the other side to disbelieve anything the Republicans have to say about immigration, okay? And then on the other side, when you have, the left claim like there's nothing wrong with the immigration system, everything is fine, nothing's going wrong. Well, that leads to the right wing not believing anything the left has to say when they're debunking ridiculous claims like migrants eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio.
Right, but in terms of the optics of this debate,
right,
and we didn't get anything that sounded wacky from Kamala Harris.
There was no substance. Like, I want to be clear. This debate was not about substance. This debate was 100% about optics. And when it comes to optics, Kamala Harris won this debate.
Yeah, but look, the debates almost never have substance. And so if Donald Trump was a normal politician, John, I would be analyzing right now, well, I mean, Kamala Harris's point about Israel is, not exactly correct to say the least. They're not really holding Israel accountable at all. And I would get into the, hey, she did actually flip-flop on some of these issues. We'd be talking about some of her weaknesses, right? Mm-hmm. But Trump seems so unhinged that it consumed a debate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I would have loved to have heard more specifics like you're saying. I agree with you that we don't often in a debate hear that. I think that of the specifics that were offered, Harris probably gave 85% of them. There wasn't much to go around, but it was mostly her. But I think overall, just the strategy 100% worked. The only thing he needed to do was don't be yourself. Don't remind people of what it's like for you to be president for 4 years, and he couldn't do it. He came in trying. He had a stoic look on his face. He was biting back all the things he wanted to say, but she had prepared a list of 10 to 20 devastating ways to trigger him.
Yeah.
And like better, I mean, I think I could trigger him pretty good. They came up with better stuff than I would have. And it just worked. And he freaked out and he started saying really strange things. And look, I'm feeling super good about the results of the debate. I predicted that she would win. I also predicted Joe Biden would win the last one, so 50-50 on that. But I don't know how much effect this is actually gonna have. I would assume some Republicans are gonna be really disappointed in the results, and I hope that independents would see this as, oh yeah, that's who he is. No, I don't want that again. And she even sort of invoked, wouldn't it be nice to be done with this phase of our politics?
And I think almost everyone, except for I guess the people who are MAGA and love the drama of Trump being an internet troll and quote unquote owning the libs and all of that. But as they're saying here, Ana Kasparian in particular, that there's no real substance. Well, this debate was about appealing to the undecided voters. Who those are out there, I can't imagine there's anyone who is undecided at this point. I mean, what more is there to learn, particularly about Donald Trump? We know all about this guy, and 60% of the country hates him. I can't imagine that there would be anybody still undecided about this, but apparently there are. But you have Donald Trump here with this now, as Cenk Uygur correctly pointed out, this story with the immigrants was not about dogs, it was about them supposedly eating people's cats and also eating ducks out of ponds, I guess, and city parks or whatever. There's no validity to this at all. The authorities in Springfield, Ohio have said there's no validity to this. This started as just a Facebook post. And so you have a person in Donald Trump running for president who is just an internet troll, and he's saying things in debates that just came from fake Facebook posts. It's really amazing that this is where we are as a country now. And like Cenk Uygur pointed out, to anybody who's normal, Donald Trump just seems completely unhinged.
And so we can get into the specifics, and there's ways she avoided answering some questions that I would have loved to have heard, and I have issues with the moderators, even though they did try to get to specifics several times. They really tried, but it didn't work. But overall, I think it was a success beyond what I would have hoped she'd be capable of.
I thought the moderators did a decent job, but there's a couple of points that John made that are so important because.
And the moderators did live fact check Donald Trump a couple of times, which was really great, as Cenk Uygur points out here.
They came into the debate saying that Kamala Harris, this was a talking point by the Republicans, doesn't have policies or plans. I never really thought that made too much sense. I thought her policy proposals so far have been clearer than Donald Trump's, more specific than Donald Trump's. But it was a talking point the Republicans had. But in this debate, she kept talking about plans and policies, and she said, where are your plans? And then on healthcare, when he was asked, you've had 9 years to replace Obamacare with a plan, your plan on healthcare. And he said, well, I have the concepts of a plan.
That was so bad.
Nighty night.
Terrible.
Nighty night.
Terrible answer. Right. How are you not prepared? How are you not prepared?
Because he doesn't prepare. That's exactly right. You remember how many times I've said when he was president, he doesn't do his homework. I mean, he doesn't know the basics about the American government, the American Constitution. And no one can correct him because his skin is so thin that if you're going to do a mock debate, you need someone in the room to challenge you so that you're better prepared. He made the Mike Bloomberg mistake of, well, I have a bunch of sycophants around me and a bunch of yes men who say, oh, I'm great, I'm great. Well, you never got challenged, so you weren't ready for Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris was the old prosecutor here. And in the beginning, she started with body blow, but by the end, she'd done about a dozen uppercuts. He just got annihilated.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, as we were talking about in the lead up to this debate, what was the thing that I kept repeating over and over again in regard to your opponent? Never underestimate your opponent. And I genuinely think Donald Trump underestimated Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris did not underestimate Donald Trump. She was prepared. She came ready. And she punched him in the mouth throughout that debate again and again.
Well, and look, I mean, we know Pete Buttigieg was involved in the prep on her side, and obviously, we disagree with him on a lot of stuff, but he's good at messaging.
He is.
He's not always good on the substance of it, but he's good on the messaging. He knows how to put together an argument. And she was good in general, but also had a couple of things that you could tell, here's a chunk we've prepared, and I'm now going to deploy it at you. And he wasn't ready. And the issue is, he's not only did he not prepare and she did, he's easy to prepare against because he says the same crazy stuff all the time. I mean, the dog thing was kind of new, but that's only from today. And so he's easy to prepare against. And on his side, he thought he could just skate through. And it's weird that he failed because he had Tulsi Gabbard helping him. How did that not save him?
How did that not help?
No, and then, by the way, so you mentioned the healthcare thing, I had a concept of a plan. Like, we laugh at that, and I think that
And Donald Trump said throughout his presidency, oh, I'll have a new, beautiful, wonderful healthcare plan in 2 weeks. And then occasionally somebody would call him on it and it'll be like, oh, I'll have it in 2 weeks. And it would never happen. It never materialized because he has no plans. He's the internet troll president. That's all Donald Trump is. He has no policies that actually appeal to anybody. And the Republican Party now has no policies that appeal to Americans. So Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian and John Iadarola are right that this debate was pretty light on specific policies, but the Republicans have none. Just blame everything on immigrants. That's what Donald Trump did throughout the debate. I was saying to friends before the debate, if you do a shot every time Donald Trump mentions immigrants or the border, you're going to be dead halfway through the debate. I mean, because that's what he just hammers on throughout, no matter. And even Kamala Harris called him on that at one point in the debate. That's his answer to everything, no matter what the subject is.
We should, because that's super embarrassing. And he's been saying for 7 years that the health plan is coming in 2 weeks. But like, put yourself in the position of a person at home that's watching this that might even be a Republican, maybe you're an independent, and you are struggling with the cost of healthcare, or you have a family member that's had to go through this system and you do want an improvement. And then you see, oh no, he hasn't done anything on this in years and years and years. Some of them as president, some of them wanted to become president again. He hasn't put 10 actual minutes of thought into what they should replace Obamacare with. It's just a talking point to him. That's all it is.
Yeah, and so one other thing that could have been an advantage for him is, hey, at least the first 3 years of my office, maybe you don't remember how crazy I was, but we had a pretty good economy. We had low unemployment before COVID hit. We didn't have an inflation problem. That's a potential strength for him that I was a little bit worried about. But instead, we got reminded, as John pointed out, of like the terror of him being president. That when he's president, you feel like, oh no, on the edge of your seat the whole time. He's a madman. He's going to do something crazy. He's going to do something crazy. And that's what the whole debate felt like. So instead of focusing on the positives that he had in office, which he could have, like, look, I could break down those and say why they're not exactly right or not at all right. But at least that's the argument he should have made. But instead, we got reminded of how unnerving he was as president because he's so unstable.
This is a great point here by Cenk Uygur that, we've all been experiencing this since 2015. Every day with Trump just in the news constantly is insanity. And we had that while he was president everything was just chaos every day for 4 years. And I think anyone who remembers that outside of the MAGA people who are totally nuts don't want to go through this again. And that's why the vast majority of the country is basically saying, give us anybody other than Donald Trump. Hopefully. Sadly, the polls right now are showing that this is pretty much a 50-50 election. Maybe the debate will change things there. But what do you think? Do you agree with Cenk Uygur, Ana Kasparian, John Iadarola on what they're saying here? And their assessment is that Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump handily in the debate. I don't know what how the media is presenting this or spinning this, but it certainly seems like Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump, and that Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian and John Iadarola are correct here. But what do you think? Make sure to leave me your comments about this particular video or any subject that you want to talk about. Do you think that Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian are correct here in their assessment, or do you think Donald Trump won? Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. This channel is growing really quickly, and your likes and subscribes help it to grow more so I can bring out more content like this. This is Chris on Culture. I will see you in the next video.